I'm just terrific. Dr. R.J. Jackson with us here this morning. And we're talking about a very serious topic, as I said, something that is, well, it's kind of distressing when we read about it. Teenage girls are experiencing record levels of emotional distress. It's not just teenage girls, but for our purposes this morning, we want to focus in upon them because they seem to be having even more trouble than others. It's based on the CDC's Youth Risk Behavior Survey conducted in 2021, and so they're getting all those numbers compiled, and they're finding that girls are having some difficulties dealing with some of the issues of life, and it's causing them great emotional distress. Why is it, Dr. Jackson?
Yeah, and I'm glad we're finding and getting more awareness on this because I've been coaching teenagers for about a decade. And this has always been the issue. But what we noticed is that the pandemic really increased a lot of the sustained sadness and depression. So it looks to be the case that social media and the pandemic was a mixture for a disaster.
Yeah, those two ingredients seem to have come together for a lot of folks. And because they have, we found it's not a good mix. It's something that produces something pretty volatile.
Absolutely. And what we noticed among the teen girls is that they consume social media content at a higher rate. And the reason for this is their primary communication is on social media. So whereas you and I may text back and forth, they're on a social media platform communicating, which then exposes them to all the other adverse effects with social media.
Why is it? Why is social media the preferred way that girls will communicate with one another?
Yeah, I believe it's like a one-stop shop. It's everything you can desire. There's shopping, there's videos to learn, but also things that you enjoy. Social media platforms do a great job with curating the content, but the problem is if a child starts to go down a darker path, well, that's all the content they will see moving forward.
She's finding basically what she has identified as her interest simply by looking, huh?
Absolutely, and that's exactly how the social media companies curate the information. Whatever you're showing interest, they give you more of it.
So whatever, they'll just feed whatever that interest is, even if that interest is harmful to you. The question then becomes, well, how do we break that chain? Because I'm assuming that when schools shut down, they did here and they did in other places for a good long time back in 2020 and 2021, that was what really triggered a lot of the feelings that have really gotten a hold of them now.
Absolutely, because you think of it, face-to-face communication will decrease that to a degree, but the pandemic, when there's no face-to-face communication with your friends, the entire experience of life is now through a social media app. And the social media companies understand that the longer a child spends on their platform, the more money they make. So, obviously, as a business, they're going to do whatever's necessary to get that child attached to this platform. And that is where we need help. As you notice, Seattle School District is suing the platforms because of social media addiction. And it's natural for a parent to say, okay, the answer is just to remove the phone. But I'm here to tell you that's not the answer.
Mm-hmm. Well, talk to me about when the schools finally opened back up and the girls were able to get back and be in person together. Is the grip of social media so strong on them that they really can't handle face-to-face meetings with people anymore?
Yeah, and really what we noticed is one platform in particular was TikTok. They had their massive growth during the pandemic, but it also encouraged other platforms to follow what they have discovered, which is show short clips, and that is the easiest way to get a child to consume more social media because then they scroll for hours. And we have seen this to be one of the biggest issues when a parent comes to find us.
That's some pretty scary stuff then. So girls will get back together with their school friends that were their friends beforehand, and really they've lost connection with them.
It's absolutely, and every parent can attest to this. 3, 4 teenagers sitting together in a room, not talking, on their phones.
Yeah. Yeah, and even within the own home, they'll find people that are communicating from room to room with each other, and rather than actually speaking to each other. We actually find that in an office setting as well. It's not just teen girls, is it?
Absolutely. I mean, when we look at adults, when it comes to social media, the fact of the matter is, it is very addicting. How do you know if you have a tendency to be addicted to social media? Anytime there's a break in your day, if the first thing you do is rush to your phone to scroll through social media, then there is this kind of potential for addiction. And as an adult, we have responsibilities. We have a lot of things that pull us away. Whereas a child, in most cases, that's their primary form of communication.
We have, of course, addictive behaviors all throughout society, and there are ways that we approach breaking the addictions, whether it be a chemical addiction, some other type of addiction that we might have, a gambling addiction. Are the methods for breaking the addiction when it comes to social media, are they the same, or do they not work as well?
Well, we have had great success with simply training teenagers. The way I describe it for a parent is to think of it like a vehicle. You would not give a 14-year-old the keys to your car and say, hey, just go drive. There's a process they go through. They are trained on it. And this is the same approach we take with social media. If a child wants to participate in the social media platforms, they must go through a training. We have to teach them how to overcome the emotions that are associated with social media.
Dr. R.J. Jackson is our guest this morning, a certified teen life coach. Now, I'm assuming that when folks get together with you and avail themselves of your services, it's because they have a problem, but there can be preventatives to this too, right?
Actually, we're at 50-50. We have 50% of teenagers who come to us, and the child is doing great. There's no major issue. They just want to reach a higher level of success. But we also work with teenagers with depression, anxiety, ADHD, and more.
For that teenager, the one with the emotional problems, especially depression and ADHD, all of those ones that you just listed, I don't guess that there's a formula that you follow for helping them through whatever their issue happens to be. It would be pretty individualized, would it not?
Yes, it's individualized, but there are some components that are the same, whether the child is doing great versus if they've been diagnosed with something. And this is where we differ from therapy. We see every child as a child with an unbelievable amount of potential. And every single child has wants and they have goals. And whenever you frame it in the way of a goal and accomplishing a goal, then we can work on situations like depression and anxiety without it feeling like they're this broken child.
Obviously, the worst of those problems could lead to suicidal tendencies, and I'm sure you have to deal with that.
Absolutely. And a lot of times it's education and coaching is what we have found success with. There's a lot about our emotions, our mindset, our beliefs that children just never been taught. They don't know it. It's not taught in school. And with that education, along with coaching, we have had over a 98% success rate.
Dr. Jackson, take me into two different types of person here. I'm thinking of the young person who has graduated high school, moved on into a university setting where they're alone, really, for many of them, for the very first time ever, and living on their own with their own responsibilities, as opposed to somebody who's still living in the family home and parents might have a little bit more control, might have a little better ability to spot problems. So particularly that person who is on their own for the first time living in a university setting, is it more dangerous for them?
Absolutely, especially with drugs and alcohol that is rampant among college campuses. They're in a very vulnerable state. I encourage parents. In fact, in our coaching, we coach parents to think like a coach as it relates to their teenagers. We want to prepare their children to, whenever they're 20, 25, that they have the tools to overcome whatever situations they face. Because the fact of the matter is this: ultimately, it's overcoming emotions. Everything we experience is emotional, and whenever we have the tools to overcome emotions, then it really increases our levels of success overall.
He is Dr. R.J. Jackson, certified teen life coach. Where do we learn more about what you do?
Thank you. It's drrjjackson.com/coaching.
drrjjackson.com/coaching.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Hey, I know that you're set up for a lovely day there in Austin. So have a great day, and thanks for joining us here this morning.
Yes, I will enjoy the sunshine.
I wish I could say the same. It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160.